Greetings and welcome to the 69th episode of Jazzology, presented by Savage Content. I'm your host, Willard Jenkins. We're here alternating Fridays, giving two jazz fans the opportunity to compete against each other for a chance to win $100. Each contestant will be asked a question worth 2 points. If they're unable to answer correctly, their opponent will have a chance to steal the question for 1 point. We'll ask 10 questions, and at the end of the 10 questions, the person with the lowest score will get a bonus question for the opportunity to tie the score, and that is no matter how far they're behind in the score. If they're successful, the game will go to sudden death. The person in the lead at the end of regulation will go first, and each contestant will take turns trying to answer the sudden death multiple choice question until we have a winner. And now let's meet this week's contestants. Our returning champion for this 69th episode of Jazzology is Ted Panken. Ted Panken is an American jazz journalist and former jazz history professor who has written extensively for DownBeat, Jazziz, and Jazz Times magazines, as well as the New York Times, the New York Daily News, and various other publications. A busy man here. Ted Panken has written more than 500 liner notes. For more than 20 years, Ted Panken broadcasted jazz and creative music for stations like WHPK-FM in Chicago and WKCR in New York. Ted co-authored My Life in E-Flat, the Autobiography of Phil Woods, for which he earned the 2021 Robert Palmer-Helen Oakley Dance Award for Writing from the Jazz Journalists Association, which honored Ted Panken with its Lifetime Achievement in Jazz Journalism Award in 2016. Since 2015, Ted has conducted several dozen public interviews in conjunction with the National Jazz Museum in Harlem. Many of his extensive interviews and articles are included in the 220 posts on Ted Panken's blog titled Today is the Question. Our challenger, and we welcome Phil Gallo. Phil Gallo is a retired editor and writer who spent more than 4 decades writing about music, the music industry for Variety, Billboard, Hits Magazine, Polestar, and others. Phil Gallo is the co-author of Record Store Days, From Vinyl to Digital and Back, a book on the history of record stores in the United States. Welcome, Phil. And now let's get to today's Jazzology, and as our previous reigning champion, Ted Panken goes first. You ready, Ted?
Might as well. Let's get on with it.
All right. Ted, which of the following musicians wrote an autobiography titled, I Guess I'll Get the Papers and Go Home? Would that be A, Eddie Condon, B, Artie Shaw, C, Doc Cheatham, D, Woody Herman, or E, none of the above?
Well, my thought process is that I'm unfamiliar with the title. So I have to decide through the process of induction who might have written it or if any of them wrote it. It's not Artie Shaw, and I don't think it's Woody Herman. And it wasn't it. I don't think it was Eddie Condon either, but I'm just not familiar with the title. Possibly Doc Cheatham, but if it was Doc Cheatham, I'm not aware of it. But something is telling me to say Doc Cheatham.
And that is correct, Ed. The correct answer is C, Doc Cheatham.
Pure dumb luck.
Doc Cheatham did indeed write a book called I Guess I'll Get the Papers and Go Home as his autobiography. So you are correct, Ted.
Broker's grandfather.
4-1 for Ted Panken. Phil, which of the following young vibraphonists was raised in Houston, Texas? Would that be A, Jalen Baker, B, Joel Ross, C, Warren Wolf, D, Patricia Brennan, or E, Chris Dingman? Which of those vibraphonists was raised in Houston, Texas?
Good question. I'm a little bit at a loss because not quite sure about any of these people's hometowns. I'm just thinking of. I'm going to throw a odd one. I've seen Joel Ross and heard him talk, and since he doesn't seem to talk with any kind of Southern accent, I'm going to say it's not him. Okay. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say A, Jalen Baker.
And indeed, that is correct. So you went out on the right limb, I suppose. All right, Ted, you're up next. Score is tied 2-2. Ted Panken, which of the following selections was the signature tune of the Jimmy Lunsford Band? Was it A, Moonlight Serenade, B, Cherokee, C, Organ Grinder Swing, D, Three Little Feelings, or E, Deed I Do?
Well, I think I know the answer to this, although I'm not sure. Although the tune that I thought might be considered the signature tune isn't included there, but that's fine. So it's not Moonlight Serenade, and it's not Cherokee. I don't know how to spin out the thought process anymore. I'm pretty sure it's Organ Grinder's Swing, C.
That is correct. It is indeed Organ Grinder Swing that was the signature tune of the Jimmy Lunsford Orchestra. So Phil, you're up next. Phil, which of the following artists was not a painter as a side artistic pursuit? Would that have been A, Miles Davis, B, Pee Wee Russell, C, Tal Farlow, D, Betty Carter, or E, Duke Ellington?
Well, Miles Davis's paintings and drawings are pretty well known, including some that even wound up as album covers. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure Tal Farlow was also a painter. Seems to me that Betty Carter considering the other people are instrumentalists, you have one female singer, so I'm going to kind of cross her off the list. And since Duke Ellington could pretty much do everything, I'm going to go with B, Pee Wee Russell.
That is incorrect. Ted, with an opportunity to steal the point. Ted Panken, which of the following artists was not a painter as a side artistic pursuit? Would that have been A, Miles Davis, and B, Pee Wee Russell has been eliminated, C, Tal Farlow, D, Eddie Carter, or E, Ellington?
Okay, well, Phil gave the case for why Miles Davis isn't to be included in this, and we eliminated Pee Wee Russell. Ellington went to art school in D.C. I think at the time that he formed the band, actually, he had like a graphics or commercial art thing going on and was making pretty good money at it, if I'm not mistaken. Now, here's where it gets... I don't know anything about Betty Carter being a painter or an artist as a side pursuit, but Tal Farlow I know as a house painter. He made a living as a house painter at times when the jazz career was fallow. I don't know if he also painted as a side pursuit. So it comes down to Tal Farlow or Betty Carter. And the question, who did not do this as a side pursuit, right, Willard?
Correct.
I'm going to say Tal Farlow because of the house painting gig. That's not an artistic pursuit. So within the question, I think that would encompass the parameters of your question. I'm going to say Tal Farlow.
That is it. It was D, Betty Carter. And, what all those artists, except for Betty Carter, actually had exhibits of their painting work. So the correct answer was Betty Carter was the only one of those artists who was not a painter as a side pursuit. All right. Ted is up next. You were not able to steal that question, Ted. Ted, which of the following jazz singers was born Shirley Luster? Was that A, June Christie, B, Dinah Washington, C, Anita O'Day, D, Gloria Lynn, or E, Marlena Shaw?
My goodness. The only birth name I'm familiar with amongst the five people you've presented to us is Dinah Washington, who was born Ruth Jones. Actually, I think maybe you can see I have a biography of her, the Queen, behind me here. So this is going to be, again, pure guesswork. And I don't blame whoever was representing Shirley Luster for changing her stage name to whichever it was. That was a tough one to go out on the road with, I would think. Gosh, this is going to be Shirley Luster. I really have no idea. I have no idea about this. It's embarrassing. How can I not know? Excuse me. All right, out on a limb, and I'll be. The odds are good that I will that I will get this wrong. I am going to say Gloria Lynn.
That is incorrect. And now Phil will have an opportunity to steal this point. Phil, which of the following jazz singers was born Shirley Luster? Was it A, June Christie, B, Dinah Washington, C, Anita O'Day, D, Gloria Lynn has been eliminated, or E, Marlena Shaw?
Well, I liked the logic on Gloria Lynn. I once had the pleasure to sit down and eat dinner with Anita O'Day, and after reading her biography, I don't remember her having the name of Shirley Luster. I'm going to use the logic of which of these names sounds most like a stage name, and therefore go with A, June Christie.
Well, Phil, that was an excellent process of elimination, and you stole the point. This week's spotlight is on a very special chance for you, our viewers, to experience one of contemporary jazz's most prominent stars, pianist and composer Emmett Cohen, live in person as he brings Emmett's Place Live to Miami on January 27th at the University of Miami's Gusman Concert Hall in Coral Gables, Florida. Simply enter your name and email for a free Enter to Win drawing for a pair of tickets to Emmett's Place Live. Please see the link in the YouTube description and on the screen to participate. Hailed by The Guardian as New York's most exclusive jazz concert, Emmett's Place Live in Miami will feature star-studded special guests including Emmett Cohen, vocalist Catherine Russell, drummer Herlin Riley, pianist Shelley Berg, along with Patrick Bartley, Kyle Poole, the wonderful trumpeter Sean Jones, and bassist Phil Norris. This is a free Enter to Win drawing. No purchase is necessary. Compliments of the Jazzology Trivia Show and Savage Content. Now, Phil, you're a newcomer to the show. Ted has already answered this question, so I have another mid-show question for him. But we always ask new contestants, how did you fall in love with jazz?
Well, as a kid growing up in Los Angeles, right around the mid 1970s, thanks to the Los Angeles public libraries, I would start to just check out records and sort of fell in love with different songs and different albums, like John Coltrane's Giant Steps, particularly the song Naima. And that led me to sort of all sort of a broad, not a historical lineage, but whether it was Weather Report or Dizzy Gillespie or Miles Davis, I wound up just sort of learning by listening to records. And I took up playing the string bass, and so I started to fall in love with basses. And I would say Dave Holland's Conference of the Birds and Stanley Clark's first solo record, Charles Mingus, trying to learn those songs. And fortunately, when I went to college, there was a lot of jazz going on at the time. And so while the radio was playing fusion, I was getting versed in bebop and Thelonious Monk and Train. And so it just kind of, fortunately, as a journalist, got to continue to write about music in all different forms. And
so it blossomed from there, huh?
Yeah, but it's really a love of jazz. That's as much as I write about all different types. That's the one I love the most.
All right. Well, thank you, Phil. Ed, you've already answered that particular question. So let me ask you, in your long experience attending jazz performances, what is your favorite jazz venue to hear the music?
I feel like I'm going to offend somebody by answering this question. So I'll tell you what. I live in New York, and I like all the venues in New York where I go to hear music. Yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, let me ask it in a slightly different way.
Do
you prefer concert settings or clubs?
Either can be okay. I think the place I really like going to hear music the most now, though, is I do get down to Baltimore every now and then, and whenever I'm there, I try to go to the Keystone Corner, run by Todd Barkin, because of the vibe, because of Todd's long history in presenting great artists, and just the whole thing. I think it's great that he's established a venue like that in Baltimore, and so I'm going to say the Keystone in Baltimore is my favorite. place.
Another of the great things about that place is they have a very good menu.
Okay, well, there we go.
Yes, indeed. All right, so Phil, you're up next. Phil, which of the following saxophonists took first place in the 71st annual, the most recent, DownBeat magazine critics poll as the rising star alto sax? Was that A, Emmanuel Wilkins, B, John Gordon, C, Jessica Lurie, D, Tina Postman, or E, Sherelle Cassidy?
Well, I can't recall off the top of my head. I wish I had that list in my head. I know Emmanuel Wilkins has been getting a lot of praise, and deservedly so. The question is, has he moved out of that rising star category, or is he sort of winding up on both lists? Similarly, Tina Postma is, I think, has been also getting an awful lot of ink. I'm gonna lean to D, Tina Postma.
Nope, that is incorrect. Ted, with an opportunity to steal the point. Ted, which of the following saxophonists took first place in the 71st annual DownBeat magazine critics poll as the rising star alto sax recipient? Would that have been A, Emmanuel Wilkins, B, John Gordon, C, Jessica Lurie, D, Tina Postma has been eliminated, or E, Sherelle Cassidy?
Well, one of the ironies of the downbeat polls, the rising star category, is that you sometimes have people who've been recording for 40 years
Right.
who get rising star votes because critics don't know where to place them. So someone like John Gordon, who's been recording great records since the early 90s, you know, he did a terrific record last year, and he could have been designated as a rising star. Sherelle Cassidy is a fabulous saxophone. All of them are great, but I'm quite sure it's A, Emmanuel Wilkins. No.
It is not. Emmanuel Wilkins actually won in the established category. He finished first in the established alto, or they don't call it that, but he finished first in the established alto saxophone category.
Okay.
All right, and the winner was Sherelle Cassidy.
Okay.
So Ted, you're up next, and we got a tight score here.
We do.
Ted, trumpeter Ingrid Jensen is from what Canadian city? Is Ingrid Jensen from Toronto? A. Is she from B, West Vancouver? Is she from C, Montreal? Is Ingrid Jensen from D, Ottawa? Or is Ingrid Jensen from E, North Vancouver?
You know, Willard, you're a demonic questioner. This is a tricky one, because how the heck can somebody from New York know whether someone is from West Vancouver or North Vancouver? Even if there is such a distinction between the two municipalities. And if I'm wrong, then Mr. Gallo is a very smart fellow, is going to know what the answer is. So she's from one of the Vancouvers. Is it west or north? I know she grew up near an island, one of the islands out there, because her sister Christine has written a number of pieces about the topography and geography of the area. Christine Jenkins, a wonderful composer and big band arranger, who features Ingrid on her recordings. So is Ingrid from West Vancouver or North Vancouver? And you're going to buzz me out if I don't pick one, and it's pure guesswork. West or North? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay, I'm going to say West Vancouver, B.
But no. That is incorrect. That is incorrect.
You're not only demonic, but cruel.
I'll lead you on. Phil. Phil, trumpeter Ingrid Jensen is from what Canadian city? Is Ingrid from A, Toronto? B, West Vancouver has been eliminated. C, Montreal. D, Ottawa. Or E, North Vancouver?
Well, I'm going to guess that she moved to that side of Canada to perform because there is a Vancouver jazz scene. And as much as I'm tempted to say North Vancouver, I'm going to take a stab at D, Ottawa.
Nope. Ingrid Jensen is from E, North Vancouver. Phil, you're up next. Phil, where is the WDR Big Band based? Is that band based in A, Berlin, B, Cologne, C, Hamburg, D, Frankfurt, or E, Munich?
The embarrassing part of this is about 20 odd years ago, I actually saw the WDR Big Band with Toots Stillman's in France. And I am blanking on precisely where they came from. I do remember thinking it's interesting that there's such a good band that comes from a place that you didn't necessarily say this is a hotbed of jazz with so many good musicians. And the question in my head right now makes me think it's either Hamburg or Frankfurt. And I'm sure Ted knows the answer. I'm going to say C, Hamburg.
That is incorrect. With an opportunity to steal the point, Ted Panken, where is the WDR Big Band based? Is it based in A, Berlin, B, Cologne, C, Hamburg has been eliminated, D, Frankfurt, or E, Munich?
Following up on what Phil said, there's more than one good big band in Germany, too. There's WDR. There's also the NDR, Norddeutschfunk Radio, maybe.
They're both radio big bands.
They're all radio big bands, yeah. Which is a long tradition in Europe. And they're terrific bands with Jim McNeely, Vince Mendoza, people like that do the charts. Now, where they're based, I'm a little confused on this as well. I have to confess, I'm just getting over a case of the flu. I'm not trying to make excuses, but I am a little foggy. And so this is going to be a guess also, but I think it's Cologne, B.
That is correct. The WDR Big Band is based in Cologne.
Westdeutsch. Anyway.
So, Ted, you're up next. Ted, jazz and blues singer Jimmy Witherspoon had an acting role in what film? Did Jimmy Witherspoon act in A, The Black Godfather, B, Shaft, C, Cotton Comes to Harlem, D, Superfly, or E, Black Caesar? All films of a certain era, shall we say.
A certain era, yeah. Actually, I was just watching Black Caesar. Although I don't recall whether he was in it. Well, you know, I have seen several other of these films too at one point or another, but I don't have a granular knowledge of the casts. Now he had an acting role. May I ask if he played a musician?
Yes.
Black Godfather, Shaft, Cotton Comes to Harlem, Superfly, and Black Caesar. I haven't seen The Black Godfather, and frankly, again, this is going to be one where it's going to be pure guesswork. It's going to be pure guesswork. But I'm going to make the guess A, The Black Godfather.
That is correct.
Did he play The Black Godfather?
Jimmy Witherspoon had an acting role. Now, he didn't play the Black Godfather. He had an acting role. He had an acting role in The Black Godfather.
Well, I am going to have to check that one out because that one is not known to me.
Okay, Phil.
Thank you, Willard.
Phil, which of the following freedom-themed tunes was written by Benny Golson? Would that have been A, The Freedom Suite, B, Free, C, We Free Kings, D, Free for All, or E, Free Jazz?
Well, A, Freedom Suite associated with Sonny Rollins, so I'm going to cross that off. Don't think it was We Free Kings. Is Free Jazz and Benny Golson kind of don't. That's oil and water. So it takes me down to B or D. I think I'm just going to say that he wrote B, Free.
That is correct. That is correct. Benny Golson did indeed write a tune called Free. So you are now at 7-5, but that means that you're still trailing. So we go to our bonus round to give you an opportunity to catch up in the score. So are you ready, Phil? All right. Well, Phil, Milt Gabler, who famously recorded Billie Holiday for the Decca label, opened the legendary Commodore Record Shop in Midtown Manhattan in what year? Was that A, 1938, B, 1946, C, 1949, D, 1939, or E, 1953, as the year when Milt Gabler opened the Commodore Record Shop?
Well, I know it's not 1953. That was too late. Commodore obviously started recording much earlier than that. 1946, you kind of get into recording bands, and that era would have been a bad time to be opening a record store for a shellac shortage or various musician strikes. I'm really sitting here looking at either A or D, and since I did write a book on record stores, I should know it off the top of my head. I wish those two weren't so close together. I'm going to go with D, 1939.
You had it, Phil. The correct answer was A, 1938. You had it at the tip of your tongue. So that Panken has conquered Jazzology once again.
Conquered is hardly the word for my performance on this one, but this is more like one of these NBA games that's 75-74. Scrappy.
Congratulations to Ted Panken on winning our 69th episode of Jazzology. We encourage everyone to try your hand and play Jazzology. And if anyone watching would like to become a contestant on Jazzology, click the link below and simply fill out the form. You must be 18 years old or older, and be sure to follow us on social media at Jazzology Trivia Show to get all the latest news and updates. Thanks so much to Ted Panken and Phil Gallo, and to everyone who joined us for our 69th episode of Jazzology today. Remember, you can check out Jazzology every other Friday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you missed the show live, you can find the archive on the Savage Content YouTube channel. Thank you very much, guys. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Willard.
Thank you all.